nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, electricity, that place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Welcome into the Buccateers podcast. It was a whirlwind of emotions this week in Bucsland. Thought we had our guy back, that he left the building, and now we're back to square one on the offensive coordinator front. And the search is on. We have 3 known candidates to get into and discuss today here on the show. We also have 2 huge football games today to get into on NFL Championship weekend. But first and foremost, the Buccaneers announced they've already completed 2 interviews for the offensive coordinator spot, and they announced that they're lining up an interview with a third. I think 2 of the names on the list are very intriguing young minds in this game, and one of them, he's kind of been recycled a little bit, interviewed with a ton of teams for their OC gig in the past and all that good stuff. I think J-Lo should be joining us shortly. I think he's playing hide and go seek with himself or something, but he should be joining in. Joey Nips will be joining in. You never know if A-Cat will be coming into the equation as well. But I can't wait to sit down and get picking at these 3 candidates. I know really one of them is at the top of my list of the 3. It's a distinct 1, 2, 3 for me, though. For those that don't know, 2 candidates have been interviewed. One was, both were virtual, I should say. Both were announced by the team last night. Both were announced by the Bucs. If you follow them on Twitter or any of their social medias, you would see that. Marcus Brady, currently helping out the LA Chargers with their pass game. He's getting an interview. He got a virtual interview already, I should say. So he already completed his interview with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for their offensive coordinator spot. That's Marcus Brady. Abraham, thanks for joining, my friend. Jake Peetz is the best candidate. We're going to talk about Peetsy and why he's a very, very good candidate. One of the best candidates, maybe the best in some people's opinions, but he's certainly one of the better candidates, one of the best candidates. We have interviewed Marcus Brady virtually, though, to this point. Hey, he's done playing hide and go seek. There he is. How we doing, J-Lo? Welcome to the show, brother. How's everything rolling?
Good, my friend. Good, man. How you doing?
Good. We're just getting into the 2 known interviews and the 3rd known candidate thus far. Obviously, back to square one on the offensive coordinator search. I feel like every year we're at this point pretty much at this time nowadays searching for an OC. The first known interview to break to the forefront was Marcus Brady, 45 years old, passing game coordinator of the LA Chargers. Obviously helped them get to the playoffs. As a player, he played in the CFL at the Toronto Argonauts, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the Montreal Alouettes. So a pretty extensive CFL career for him over there. He went to Cal State Northridge in college. Nothing too crazy as a player in college. And then as a coach, he was a wide receiver coach for the Montreal Alouettes from 2009 to 2011. He was the offensive coordinator at the Alouettes in 2012. The Toronto Argonauts from 2013 to 17, their offensive coordinator. Then he joined forces with the Colts in 2018, was their assistant quarterbacks coach over there in Indianapolis in 2018. He was their quarterback coach in 2019 and 2020 in Indianapolis. And then in 2021 and part of 2022, he was the offensive coordinator. Then remember, Frank Reich got fired. He got fired mid-season over in Indy. For the rest of that year, he moved to an offensive consultant role with the Eagles before landing a senior offensive assistant role with the Eagles in 2023. So back-to-back years of making the playoffs with the Eagles there. And then he went to the Chargers in 2024 as their passing game coordinator. J-Lo, thoughts on the first known candidate to emerge with the virtual interview for the Bucs, 45-year-old Marcus Brady from the San Diego Los Angeles Chargers, before we get into the other two known candidates and other potentials?
I mean, he's got some experience as offensive coordinator, like you mentioned, going over his resume. I think he's just an interview, pretty much. But I think there'll be more other candidates. But I mean, he would be one I'll look at, somewhat close. But like I said, the fact that he had a lot of experience in the NFL world, it couldn't hurt to bring him on. And if we did, obviously he wouldn't be a head coaching candidate next year. The last two. So.
Yeah, that's always a good thing with the names like a Chip Kelly or the names like a Marcus Brayton. I don't think these guys end up getting the job. I wouldn't mind if Chip did, although we'll talk about that later. But these are guys that won't get poached from your staff right away. But at the end of the day as well, that could be a double-sided token, because maybe if they haven't been, been threatened to be poached yet, maybe there's other better options. But J-Lo pops text into the show. Maybe J-Lo missed the opening part because he was hiding in Jacksonville. Wow, we'll get into that here in a bit. Liam Coen, I think the damage has been done. We're not going to get into him too greatly today. I think there's more important things to talk about on the forefront of the Bucs, on the Bucs horizon. Olivia, Chip Kelly would be a great fit. Neil says, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Abraham Pete's helped make her see. J-Lo and I are high on Jake Pete's, Abraham, so we'll get into him here shortly, but pretty sure he's top three for me and J-Lo in potential. So, J-Lo, I'm kind of in the same boat on you and Marcus Brady. Not really worried about him being promoted one day, although I ultimately don't think he ends up getting the gig anyways. So, I think that's one of those things that kind of work itself out in the long run. Nothing against Marcus Brady, and I wouldn't mind if he's a part of the staff one day, potentially, but not for now, not for this time. Let's see. The second known candidate now, J-Lo, is Nate Schillenhouse, actually, former U of I candidate. This is a cat who's a young offensive mind, didn't quite get into the offensive coordinator NFL world yet, but he does have a pretty good extensive background. Obviously, he comes in with that Sean McVay tree resume. He's 34 years old, again, former quarterback at the University of Illinois, and it's announced that Nathan Schillenhouse will have an interview with the Bucs. I don't think they've actually had one with him yet, but since his playing career, it was from 09 to 2013 in U of I. 09, he was a redshirt freshman, and then as a coach in 2015, he got up and coming at U of I. Football operations helper in 2015. We're talking about Bucs offensive coordinator candidate Nathan Schillenhouse. And then after that, he went to Illinois running back game coach in 2015. So mid-season got promoted from football operations to running backs coach. And then in 2016 and 17, offensive assistant. 2018 got the Iowa State running backs coaching gig. 2019 and 20 was Iowa State's wide receivers coach. From 21 to 22, he was the running game coordinator and running backs and wide receivers coach, so had a lot of star power written up over there. 2023 comes around, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Iowa State. That one's key because as an offensive coordinator there, he was calling plays. And then this past season in 2024, he was an offensive assistant and passing game specialist for the Rams to kind of seep in to that McVay tree. Before we welcome Katz, and thoughts on Nate Schillenhouse and his candidacy potential, Mr. J-Lo?
That one I actually do like. That one definitely catches my interest. If he's one of my top candidates, I definitely put him in my top three. He's young. He has, play calling experience at Iowa State. So that's very huge, like you mentioned. Another young candidate. The only thing that scares me is he could be another one of those coaches that could get poached from us. I'll be straightforward on that. From the Sean McVay tree, that's what every team really wants in their offense. They want the Sean McVay effect. And I feel like this young man can do that. If he don't get the gig here, someone's going to bring him in. Or not, the Rams are going to promote within, depending on, Jacksonville boys, see what he does. But anyway.
Yeah, and again, we're gonna briefly talk about it in a bit here on Coen, but I don't want to waste too much time on that negative energy after what he did to us. We will get into it. Don't worry, we're not gonna hide and shy from it. But I think we could have a couple hour segment of just bashing the guy. But Mr. Katz, how the hell you doing, brother? Lucky
That's what
for
I've been
you.
doing all week. Yeah, all week has really been. It's all about Liam Coen. Just how he seems like that kind of guy, Tones, that I think enjoys when the spotlight gets on him. Bad or worse. He got two people fighting over him. He likes the attention. He's on his 15th job in 10 years or something like that. He's been in a lot. So he's that kind of guy. The heck of an offensive mind, but yes, I'm doing all right because I'm ready to move forward from that. I'm looking to how we can get better from where we were under him. Not, there's a lot of what I don't, and I'm immediately, as I start to go into semi-rant, this is not a rant, but I see so much woe is me out there, so much, you should have hired Bowles to say, keep going. You still, after this, look at what he did. Look at this. He's going to be a head coach now. You're running a whole damn program. It would not have worked out with the Bucs. It didn't work the last time the Bucs did it. He might do great in Jacksonville. I don't know. He's never been a head coach before. He's been a play caller. He's bounced around. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I look forward to this offensive coordinator search. I hope they act swiftly. I don't want them to rush it. But the quicker that they move and select a candidate and expedite or fast track the process, the faster we can move on and not talk about crater face anymore.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And Cats, you're right on multiple fronts, right? Like, yeah, they get a bright offensive mind in Jacksonville, but what leader of men do they? Who know? Everyone was acting like he's all of a sudden Bill Welsh or like he's Andy Reid or like he's a Bill Belichick type. And he might be at the end, but he could also be the type that peters out after a couple of years and becomes not that great of a head coach. Maybe he's better off just being an offensive coordinator. So Jacksonville fans want to anoint themselves as football relevant again. They want to act like they won the Super Bowl. They want to celebrate. Sure, happy, good for you guys. Enjoy your moment because you don't know what this guy might be. He could very well end up being a nothing head coach. And for those Bucs fans that say, hey, the Bucs should have retained the two, my forefront on this is they did the best they could to try and keep both Todd Bowles and Liam Coen. They would have made Liam Coen the highest paid coordinator in NFL history. Not only in the limelight right now, but in NFL history. Not only offensive coordinator, but total coordinator between defense, offense, special teams coordinator in the history of the league. So things don't work out. He kind of snaked us, is what it is. Jacksonville, you're in for a coin flip. It could work out greatly. It could backfire on you guys. I'm ready for this search. I'm excited. And as weird as it sounds, it's kind of
like... How many organizations, Tone, let me ask you, sorry, because how many organizations do you think would have done what the Jags did and just given a 1 year, a guy who's been a play caller for 1 year in the NFL, a very good one, great one, in fact, said, okay, we're going to fire the GM. Now, they should have fired that GM a while ago. He's a lousy GM. Nobody seems to like him. Well, now we're going to fire him, and we're going to not only make you the head coach, we're going to give you $13 million a year, which I don't know what head coach salaries are. They don't seem to be published that well. I don't know what they are. That seems to me, though, like that's probably near the top, I'm going to guess. And say you can pick your own GM, or probably you can be the GM if you want. A desperate organization does that. The Bucs, I don't think Bucs acted aggressively. I don't think they were desperate to keep him, but they really wanted to keep him, especially for Baker's sake, But Jacksonville, if they want to do that, they're going to be, desperate to just hand it over to a 39-year-old who's never been a head coach at any level, let alone becoming his own general manager, at least for now. That's what they had to do. Shad Khan, is taking his chance. He's had a lot of coaches come through there. Not any of them have worked. This one might. But for the Bucs, we're the ones that have the talent, the strong talent on offense. They have some good pieces there, but we have a lot of talent on offense. That's a real good key to having a great offense is great players. We have that. And I believe we'll be having a great one coming back. I do believe Chris Godwin will be back. And having him back is more important than having Craterface come back. So yeah. I coined the nickname, hey, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it looks like a duck, it's a duck.
Yep, he's a duck, and I think we could call him a lot of words that rhyme with duck as well. Joey, thoughts on you. I want to get your perspective, as obviously Liam Coen is going to be going to toe with your team twice a year now, as he's a Jaguars coach. So him and Indianapolis will be battling it out. No doubt Jacksonville gets an offensive bright mind in the game, but they surely could have shot themselves on the foot by a true leader. And by the way, I will add in, to kind of piggyback off Katz, the Jaguars complied this whole thing behind the scenes that alluded to them not being Rooney Rule compliant for legitimacy. I mean, they pretty much lined it up where Patrick Graham was getting a sham interview. They already knew Liam Coen was their coach at this point in time. I just don't get how the NFL sits back and, even has a Rooney Rule at this point. If they know it's a fake, phony, baloney rule, take it out of the game first and foremost. Secondly, the Jaguars aren't even punished for tiptoeing around the Rooney Rule. So the way they went about the whole thing is snaky and snarky, both on the Jags front and Cohen's front. But you can't blame the guy business-wise. He's getting 14, 15 million a year, as Katz alluded to. He's going to be the highest, probably top two. Him and Ben Johnson. There might be one more coach up there, as Katz kind of said. NFL does a nice job of blanketing their head coach salaries. The Bucs contract was never revealed to the public, for matter of fact. So let's just say he's going to be one of the top paid coaches in the game. Will it pay off? Joey, what do you think as he will go battle with the Colts twice a year? Jags, Colts, game on.
Well, yeah, good morning, gentlemen. First off, I think the Rooney Rule should be taken away. The purpose is not being followed. You see a lot of people just getting interviewed, as you can see here at Jacksonville. Sorry to Leslie Frazier and Dallas. Other coaches, you see this. And it's almost like you have to interview someone. To me, if you want to hire somebody, you go make the move, because it's almost the reverse of what the rule tried by trying to bring somebody in just to check the box. So that's my first step, number one. Number two, it was kind of interesting to me looking at scumbag Liam Cohen's history a little bit here. And I want to say that because if you go back to all of the spots he's been in, it's like a 1 to 2 year thing. It was weird to me that he was in Rams, then he goes to Kentucky, then he comes back to the Rams, all in about a 3-year stretch. And, hey, you know what? He called fine offenses. Look at him, what he did with Baker Mayfield. So did Canales, though. And this move here, he's just not a trustable source. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, going to them. But the way he did it, the year after year of leaving teams, ending up somewhere else, I don't think this is going to be a successfully long run in Jacksonville. To me, people are, 1 year of calling plays for an offense that was successful the year before. I don't know how much you put stock into that when you have a Trevor Lawrence who has not only been unhealthy lately, he's also not played his best football. Number two, Jacksonville is not a landing spot like Tampa Bay in any means. They might be in the same state. They might be a few hours apart. But look at who the Bucs have since Brady's left. It's always good players. It's always players that have good NFL minds. And there's a reason these offenses work around Baker Mayfield. Yes, there's play callers, but how much history do these play callers have? We saw Canales starting to get it together finally in Carolina. I just don't think it works for Liam Coen, and I'm happy he's there because I'm not going to say karma works all the time, and I'm not rooting anything bad outside of the football field for this guy. I'm not going to go there. But inside the lines, I think this is a 2-year run that goes poorly, and it might be the end of Liam Coen ever getting a head coaching job again, and it could be the end of Trevor Lawrence being the starting quarterback in the NFL 2 years from today.
Yeah, I said Jacksonville better have a lot of good places that are 25 months or less rentable or buyable because,
He did it at Holy Cross, too, I heard. There was a guy here on local team said that he was back in the day, like 10 years ago. He was supposed to have a certain job at Holy Cross. He didn't take that. Moreover, I read an article, and Joe Buckfan posted it from a quote from, I can't remember the guy's name, so apologies, in Kentucky, who talked about this and said that last year he retweeted something about Liam Coen is interested in the Buccaneers offensive coordinator job. And immediately Liam Coen calls the guy, the radio host, and says, "Why'd you report that? Don't retweet that. Put out a tweet and tell everybody that I'm staying." And he said that it was 2 hours later he'd signed to come here. So this guy's obviously, he's one of those guys. When I say one of those guys, the Urban Meyer. Right, Urban Meyer type, it's like, oh, my heart, oh, I can't do this anymore, my heart. And then what do you know? How long was it before he was back at Ohio State? How long was it after Urban Meyer had his hollow by heart?
Like 10 months.
He reminds me of someone I talked to about Liam Coen. He said, it sounds like a Lane Kiffin type college coach bullshit. And I would agree with that. That's what it seems like to me. So we'll see. So I saw a comment about poaching Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's not following this snake to Jacksonville. That is not happening. If Chris Godwin may not come back, I believe he will. But if he's signed somewhere in free agency, it's not going to be there. I am positive will not be there.
And remember, last year, everybody was freaking out about Carolina being able to poach people because they got Dave Canales. Remember? Oh, Mike Evans is going to follow him to Carolina. This guy. Well, yeah, they did get some Bucs players, but they were Devin Tompkins. They were Cam Gill. They were those type of players of the world. They were our top-tier studs. So, yes, maybe Liam Coen poaches one coach. Maybe he poaches a couple players, but it ain't going to be the Godwin types. It ain't going to be the top-tier types. Hell, GM guys don't even want to follow him there. But enough of Godwin talk for now. We got to continue on with our coaching search. We will get back to Godwin eventually, but I do want to mention Grant Udinski quickly being the third known candidate for the Bucs. Guys, how crazy is this? Born in 1996. 1996. And he's interviewing for the Bucs offensive coordinator gig. This guy was a Baylor grad assistant in 2019, Panthers coaching assistant in 20 through 21. And then he's under the McVay tree, not directly, but he's been under O'Connell in Minnesota since 2022. And O'Connell came directly from Sean McVay. So he will have a similar type of philosophy offensively as a Sean McVay type. Right now, he's the assistant offensive coordinator and assistant quarterbacks coach. So to me right now, J-Lo, I go Nate Scheelhaus is top choice, and Grant Udinski is number 2, and Marcus Brady number 3 for the.
Mine hasn't been interviewed yet.
Gizzard, that's just of the knowing ones. Me and J-Lo like Gizzard too, but J-Lo, what would you rank your top 3 knowing candidates right now?
Right now, I gotta go with the dude from the Rams. Scheelhaus, where his name is.
Nate Scheelhaus, yep.
Yeah, I don't want to butcher his name. Right now, I say he's number 1. I like how the youth movement is, in the coaching world. And then the gentleman from the Vikings, I like him. And then I like Grizzard as the third option, promote within. So I say.
Well, we're just talking about the interviews right now, But Katz, you'll get the Grizzard question. So. J-Lo, you can presume yours is Marcus Brady at 3. Katz, what's the you on the top up-and-coming name that we haven't talked about yet, potentially from internal promotion and growth? Josh Grizzard. He joined the Bucs staff last year under Liam Coen.
Well, Josh Grizzard is my top choice. The only, now interviewing Scheelhaus, I'm going to mess up that name, Scheelhaus, he has called plays before. Josh Grizzard has not called plays. That might be, now neither has the gentleman from Minnesota, 28-year-old. And hey, cast a wide net. It's good interview practice for him, Udinski, even because I don't honestly think he's going to get the job unless he wows them. I just think 28 is a bit young, and I'm not an ageist here. The human brain doesn't fully develop till 27, I hear. Used to think it was 25. But Josh Grizzard, just look at his resume here, just on the surface. Before coming to the Bucs, he worked with the Miami Dolphins. First of all, he graduated from Yale. He played at Yale. He coached with the Dolphins, and in his time with Miami, he crossed paths with Mike McDaniel. That's, I believe, he worked under. He also coached with a man by the name of Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, Mike McDaniel, these are pretty good offensive minds. He then came here. He worked under Craterface. He ran the third down offense, which is number 1 in the NFL. He was the passing game coordinator. He's a bright guy. If he went to Yale and graduated, he didn't go there because he was a football player. He played football, but that's not why he went to Yale. Go to Yale. I don't believe he went to Yale on a football scholarship. I've done my homework. I believe he's a bright young mind. He played, though, as well. if there were any pause to me, it would be that, he didn't call plays before. But then again, a lot of these bright young minds have never called plays,
Canellis and
Yeah.
Coen did a little bit at Kentucky, but Canellis
Kentucky.
never called plays.
That's right. And Grizzard is, and to Crater Face's credit, in a recent interview, was maybe, I don't know if it's after the Chargers game when they put up the 40 spot, he talked, he's like, I do a lot of the work, but however, I owe a lot of the gratitude. And he started listing off all of his coaches, like Brian McClendon, Thad Lewis, Josh Grizzard. I'm probably forgetting someone. Talking about how the third down offense. Kevin Carberry, right. And Carberry, I don't recall if Carberry was here before or after Craterface, if he was hired by Craterface or if he was hired previously.
Hired by Liam Coen.
Okay. And so I think he'll probably grab the assistant, Picucci, and probably drag him to Jacksonville. That's what I'm guessing, to be their offensive line coach, because they coached together at Kentucky. So, you want the guys you want that continuity finally for Baker, that you so hoped you could keep, and you can keep it. You pick one of the guys that worked under him, and I don't know, passing game coordinator to me sounds, third coordinator of the third down, which was number 1 in the NFL. His resume, the people he's worked with, to me, I'd have full confidence if he was the leader, and I wouldn't be surprised if they move fast on that. I really do, because otherwise, I read other teams. I cheated. I went on Twitter and I put his name in, and I see there's other teams out there that want their team to interview him. I know Seattle fans want him interviewed, so I don't think the Bucs are going to be the only suitor.
And that's the other thing. There's still a handful of offensive coordinator openings around the league. There's still one head coach opening, so a lot of offensive guys have to fill spots still. So the Bucs, might lose 1 or 2 on the staff, but they've been there, done that. But I would love Grizzard if he was our internal promotion growth choice. I would like that. Joey, out of all the names we haven't talked about yet, Marcus Brady, Nate Schulhouse, Josh Grizzard, and Big Yadinsky from the Vikings, the big 29-year-old, who would you say is one name we haven't talked about yet that you could see filling in the role nicely for Bucs offensive coordinator?
Well, first off, I do love Schulhouse. Shout out to my U of I buddies that go there. Saw him quarterback for years. That's a name and a half. Not only, once you get a Bucs offense coordinator's job, you'll get that name down, J-Lo.
Hey, Bucs fans had a problem pronouncing Coen.
Yeah, now we got a new name for him. I like Katz is better. You mentioned these young coordinators.
It looked like it. Yeah.
29, 28, 27 years old. The biggest play I made yesterday was picking up my beer and a pizza. So it makes me really sad hearing all these offensive coordinators making plays younger than me. So that just shows what I have to do on my end. But looking at other offensive minds around the league, look, you're not going to get like these people who go for the coaching jobs, like the Munkins, the Bradys, Joe Brady's, that is. They're not going to really probably leave their spot unless they get a head coaching job. So to your guys' point, there's a lot of people in the mix who don't call plays. One guy who has a lot of experience, and I've seen here locally in Chicago, and maybe just the name I'm trying to put out there, David Shaw, is an interesting one. He has a lot of experience coaching. A lot of time, especially I think at Stanford was probably one of his biggest runs. But this guy is now not really going for head coaching. He's more looking for an OC type. And I don't know. I know we named a lot of young names. That's where I would mostly stick. But if you're looking for a veteran coach who has a lot of good experience, maybe David Shaw is a name that could be interviewed by Tampa Bay this week.
The thing is with him, and, he interviews for everything. I feel like you always see his name pop up. David Shaw interviews here. His resume is just a hard one to trust because he was at Stanford for so long and, post Andrew Luck, interesting. But he was with the Broncos this past year, 55 years old. 52 years old, I'm sorry. So he could possibly be interviewed for sure. I'd personally put him with the Alex Van Pelt of the world and, put them on the back burner of being older guys who might get interviews. But Russ Harris, I read something about Keenan McCardell being – every year we interview him. He's not a no.
He was here. He was our wide receivers coach at one point in time for a brief period of time, I believe. Was he? I don't – I Killiard was. I
think you're thinking of Anton Randall L.
Maybe. No, Randall L, yes, and I Killiard, I believe, was. I thought McCardell was on our staff. McCardell's bounced around. Maybe it was Jacksonville. I know he's bounced around as an assistant in various places. So has Ike Hilliard. Maybe neither one of them ended up here. Antoine Randall was actually a guy I'd thought of when I thought Coen was going to leave to begin with. But then I see the Bears went and poached him from the Lions, which is not surprising for the same offensive coordinator.
Staff and Bucs staffs are getting rated. We did get a defensive question about the Bucs staff, but as we wrap up the OC talk, Joey mentioned Shaw, Katz mentioned Grizzard, J-Lo and I have talked about the top 3 choices of interviews so far. Not top 3 choices, but 3 known guys to interview. Other names I'd watch either internally or externally. Thad Lewis, Bucs quarterbacks coach. He's been with the program in a quarterbacks coach role for a couple of seasons now. So he's been here through 2 seasons of Baker Mayfield and prior knowledge here. And Thad Lewis also has the Canales and Coen twist on the offense. Chip Kelly, I would watch his name. Keenan McCardell.
I think he went to Texans. He went to the Texans, I heard. Chip Kelly, isn't he?
They're interested.
Came on my phone. It came on my phone. Okay, that he actually went. That he's actually going there. That might have been false information that came across my phone.
They do have mutual interest in each other, allegedly. So I wouldn't be shocked. And that's right. Bobby Slowick's open now too. Former Texans OC.
That was wow.
Keenan McCardell.
You know, Liam Coen better watch well, because look at what just happened to Slowick really quickly. That guy was going for head coaching interviews. Now he's fired as an OC. You could be turned on that quickly. Sorry to cut you off.
That's why I think he's got the job.
Real quick here, Brian McClendon, the Bucs wide receivers coach, he could be looked at. I think he might be a Coen poach, though. I think Coen could poach McClendon potentially. And then you got Justin Peele, the Bucs tight end coach as well.
You know, it used to be, you're going to have to help me out here, guys. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. The rule used to be that unless you were promoting someone to a head coaching position, you had to get permission, and teams, the former team, could block any interview request, even if it's for a upward position, but not to a head coach. Because I know this because John Gruden did it. He did it with Joe Barry when Rod Marinelli took over as head coach in Detroit. He wanted to bring his son-in-law, Joe Barry, to be the defensive coordinator. He was our linebacker coach. Gruden said, no, you're not doing it. And when his contract ran out, he went to Detroit. But can you still do that?
You can still deny permission as long as it's not an upgrade that retains the head coaching position. So say, for example, if you have an assistant, you could block him from being an equivalent like assistant elsewhere and so forth. So,
but Joe Barry is going to become the defensive coordinator in Detroit. He was our linebackers coach. The Bucs blocked it. They were allowed to do that because he wasn't being promoted.
I think you're technically allowed to, but I don't think we see that anymore. Because
I would do it. I would do it here if it comes up with Jacksonville. I would do it. I had no issue with Gruden doing that back in the day. I thought it was pretty cool. He was the type of guy that said, you go fuck yourselves. I'm keeping as much of my fucking staff together until I'm out of here. And that's what he did. And now obviously teams kind of repaid us and blocked us at times too. So we got ours back. But if Jacksonville starts wanting to poach, I would block. And I bet you I wouldn't be one bit surprised if the Bucs blocked any requests from over there.
Monty Waters said if Liam Coen Liam Coen did leave, and no, Byron Leftwich isn't coming back.
But
so
no,
that's all the talk on that. We're wasting our time on. Defensive wise, fellas, we did get one question before we flip the page here because we got a lot of football talk to get to. Casey Rogers did leave, and we had a question. Hey, potential D-line candidates. I'll throw a couple names out there that have been rumored flying around. Fun ones, but they won't happen. Both Gerald McCoy and Warren Sapp have been rumored as potential defensive line coach people. Just throwing their names out there, not necessarily there. But Larry Foote, he did interview for Lions defensive coordinator gig. I could see him coming back to Tampa and just being named the full-on defensive coordinator at this point. So really up to him to fill that staff. And I would not be shocked at all if he gets a former defensive lineman who he played with to help out for the defensive line. Remember, he had a pretty damn good career in Pittsburgh and Arizona. Yeah. Then he ended with Detroit. So to me, if Larry Foote is retained, his role is going to expand as Casey Rogers did leave. And to me, Larry Foote will bring in a well-known defensive line guy who he's played with before. Maybe that's a Casey Hampton. Remember him from the Steelers back in the day? Big guy. He was a very effective, run clogger and whatnot. Or maybe it will be, hey, if Calais Campbell goes into coaching, maybe if he's done playing, Larry Foote and him overlapped in Arizona before when Calais Campbell was in Arizona. So there's a lot of name potentials of high-end profile guys that could float out there. Cats, before we move to the Saints head coach opening in these games today, thoughts on the Bucs losing defensive line coach Casey Rogers?
Well, I'm a little surprised by it, honestly. I don't know if they tried to retain him or not, because the defensive line was one of the few. I thought, Kalijah Cantu, Vita Vea, Hall. I thought those three guys did a nice job. So I'm surprised that he left. He's been with Bulls for a long time. Perhaps he looked at the Detroit job. Maybe they offered him more money. Maybe there's other reasons. I don't know. So I was hoping we keep him, honestly. I'm not the end of the world, but I was hoping we just keep him. Now I'm hearing that Foote is coming back. What I read this morning, that might be incorrect, but I think Foote is coming back. And I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the defensive coaching staff. I was hoping they'd make some changes. If they do, they do. If they don't, well, let's get some better players. Is really the first thing. Get healthy.
Agreed. J-Lo, quickly, thoughts on Casey Rogers' replacement potentially before we get on to the broader world of the NFL, my friend?
I say go younger. Go out to one of the SEC University defensive line coaches, like Georgia's defensive line coach. Go get him if you could. I'd rather go younger. Go younger, with coaching, the veterans. That's what I would say. Either Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama, wherever you can poach from. That's why I say go with.
Yeah,
and I'd also say look to the Rams too, I guess. Look at their defensive coaching staff and look at their defensive. But they have 6 sacks. Was it 9 sacks against Minnesota? They have 9 sacks in that game?
Yeah.
Well, you might want to look at someone on their defensive staff, and obviously they could block it if they want, but we don't have any real beef with them, so I'm sure they'd be kind enough to let us interview whoever we'd like. They already are. Professional courtesy.
It is interesting to see where the Bucs stand for a third straight year with their offensive coordinator search. One thing's for certain, they're going to take their time, interview, 10 to 14 guys probably like they have the past 2 seasons and try and hone in on one. Speaking of hone in on one, the Saints, what the hell are they going to do? Joey, thoughts on their head coach opening? At first, I thought it'd probably go to a Mike McCarthy type. He started as a Saints offensive coordinator. A lot of coaches like to coach where they started their career one day. But to me, the Saints are pretty broken. I don't know if McCarthy views that job as career suicide or not for getting another head coaching job down the road. I think the Saints head coach opening has probably a one-and-done younger guy or a very old vet. I feel like they're going to hire somebody out of the box. He'll be there a year, kind of a dumpster fire year. Then they'll turn on him and really reset next year. But Joey, thoughts on the Saints being the last head coach opening and where they might go?
Well, to be honest, I actually think it would be perfect for McCarthy and the Saints to meet up, and for a couple of reasons.
I think it'd be perfect for the Saints, but McCarthy.
Well, the thing about the Saints, what you could do is this guy is on his last time of probably being a head coach, positive or negative. He's not getting any younger, and he wants to be a coach for a team for a while. So what you do this year, if you hired him, is you clear the cupboard. You say, hey, you're getting a 4 to 5 year contract. Year 1 is not going to be held against you. Clear the house, build the culture as he's done in Green Bay and Dallas. I know the playoff success ain't there, but there's a lot of teams that be foaming at the mouth just to make the playoffs consistently. So let's clear that cupboard of all the guys that he doesn't like and scratch it this year. Derek Carr will be your quarterback. And then you'll obviously have the rookie that was behind who did decent at times this season. So you'll have those two. And then you start looking at next year's draft and free agency. Nobody this draft, or to me at least, in this draft or free agency is going to make you go crazy unless somehow like a Dak Prescott be available for trade. But I really don't see that happening either. I would think you just kind of, I'm not saying you punt this year, but you clear it. You put guys in there you want. And then next year you really start honing in on it and making a run to me at this thing. And that's where McCarthy has 4 years to try to become really successful. Mm-hmm. And either it works or it doesn't. But to me, it will be his last landing spot regardless. So he's not too worried about what the next team would be. If you wanted to look at a younger option where it's just kind of a over the hump type thing, I guess you could do so. Maybe it works with a young person. But the New Orleans Saints seem to be a team over the last decade that want to at least try to always compete. They're not one of those who are trying to just bottom out most of the time, as much as I freaking hate them. They try to at least stay somewhere in the balance. So to me, McCarthy, I give him a 4 or 5 year deal. Let him start the thing over and see if it works or not.
Yeah, and that
a good point.
was my guess. But my thing is, McCarthy, Saints better hope he wants to coach here, because there's nothing good go. You made the point. It's his last spot. Why would he want to go to a spot that set up this disastrous for him? That's my biggest thing. Of course, the Saints want Mike McCarthy. At this point, that's all they have left. You have Joe Brady removing his name, Steve Spagnuolo removing his name.
Did he? I heard Kingsbury still considering it, that he would still consider it, although that's a high.
Yeah, Kingsbury just keeps saying the same shit. He's focused.
But he's another one of those guys that and I'm not saying this because he shit talked after beating us. Hey, you beat us, good for you, good job. He always is another one of those guys that seems to love the attention on him.
He does. Remember that year he was coaching in his house, all kicked up with his swag. But bottom line is, McCarthy is perfect for the Saints. It's just if he wants to coach here. If this is really,
I don't know if he wants that job. I think he's earned the right.
If this is really his last year coaching, or his last head coaching opportunity potentially. Maybe he sits out a year next year.
I would sit out a year. Sit out a year. He could potentially replace Raheem Morris in Atlanta after he gets drunk with the players again and they miss the playoffs again. That would be actually a very good hire
too. Sean Payton took a year off. He went to the shows, came back, and found a spot he really wanted to be in. And hey, Denver was a mess year one. Don't forget, not too long ago, they had Russell Wilson in the worst contract ever. So sometimes these veteran coaches do like that challenge of, rebooting something and getting it going. Sometimes they don't always want to go to a place that has an established quarterback that's okay and, some other veteran players that have a strong voice. Sometimes these head coaches want to clear the cupboard, do their own thing, and get all their own people in there.
Yeah, but remember, too, the musical chairs ran out on Sean Payton because he was interviewing everywhere, and the Cardinals said, we're going to go younger. We're going to get Gannon instead of you. And a couple other places closed the door on Sean Payton, too. So I don't think it was necessarily the Broncos' job that attracted him as much as it was kind of almost like a, McCarthy, where, hey, it's either you get the Broncos job or you're going to sit out another year of coaching. So,
I think we can all agree. We just hope it doesn't work.
Maybe McCarthy. Again, the Saints really want McCarthy. The Saints need to hope that Mike McCarthy wants to coach the Saints, because if you don't get Mike McCarthy and you're a Saints fan, you're going to end up doing what the Cardinals did when they hired Steve Wilkes and then they fired him after a year, and then you're going to see a distressed franchise really for the years to come. But J-Lo, thoughts on the Saints head coach opening? Where do you think it goes?
I think if Mike McCarthy doesn't take the job, they might just have to promote within. Maybe promote Clint Kubiak and give him a shot. I mean, why not? I mean, he's a pretty good offensive mind. And if you can't go get a big fish coach like McCarthy, not saying he's big time, but you know what I mean, veteran coach.
I agree. Do you think that's what's ultimately going to happen with Brian Schottenheimer too? Do you think he's a one and done type scenario? Maybe they promoted within,
Absolutely. I think the plan was Dallas was to retain Mike McCarthy, but then they couldn't come to agreement, so they had to go with plan B, promote within to keep the continuity with Dak Prescott because they're paying him all this money. Schottenheimer's a good offensive coach, I think. I don't think he's great, but he's a good offensive coach. And I just think Jerry World over there don't know what the hell he's doing, and he freaking just fumbled big time, not retaining McCarthy. It was obvious that they wanted McCarthy back. It was obvious because they blocked the interview with the Bears, and then all of a sudden a week later they let him go anyway because they couldn't come to agreement. That's just another mess over there. But Schottenheimer be one and done. Jerry needs to freaking just throw in the towel and let somebody else run the team because he's a fucking moron.
Believe me, he's closer to coaching that team than he is being gone from that team.
Correct.
I'll tell you that.
Well, I wouldn't be shocked if he's under center next year. I think he might
believe he's closer.
He doesn't want the top names. In my opinion, with Jerry, I think obviously he wants to win. We all want to win. But, a guy like Brian Schottenheimer, who was a hot name many years ago, then he kind of fizzled out. You didn't really hear much about him. It means that he's going to do whatever Jerry wants him to do. So I actually think he'll be there for quite a while. They have a talented roster, an overrated roster, and the money is weirdly allocated, but a talented roster just the same. Now their division is a lot tougher, minus the Giants. They've got two behemoths in the division. They've got the third best quarterback in the division, but he's the highest paid. So But I actually think Schottenheimer will last there for quite a while, just like Jason Garrett, and he'll have some decent seasons. The bottom line is Jerry is in charge. He doesn't have. That's why a lot of people thought, well, maybe Bill Belichick will go to Dallas, and I said, no, that will never work. Belichick is never going to want to take orders from him, and he's never going to want to have another guy that's infringing on his power. So again, he promotes his own offensive coordinator, and now, he can still dominate the news cycle and not have to worry about any coach that would dare challenge his authority, like that Jimmy Johnson guy.
Yeah, and we all know how that ended. Joey, quick thoughts on Colts hiring a new brass for their defense, Lou.
I like him. I like him because the Falcons wanted him. The Falcons wanted him, and so was Ulbrich, and I was happy.
They had to settle for Big Ulbrich from the Jets, but this is probably the most peppered defensive coordinator field ever for defensive coordinator coaches. Colts end up with a good one. Joey, Colts fans, Colts faithful, they happy with how this turned out?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anything to get away from the Gus Bradley defense where you run the same play every single play and you hope for the best. It lets quarterbacks like Drew Lock get comfortable, and then they light you up for 350. Anyways, to Lou Anarumo, I love his background, the Italian stallion. He was local at Purdue, did a little bit of work. He's moved on his way. He was in the McDaniels tree of where Adam Gase, he was under there for a little bit in Miami. Then he went to Cincinnati where, look, he's not a younger guy, but that was his first DC job, okay? He had a bunch of veterans on the Bengals defense. And after a year, he cleared the cupboard, got his own guys. And that's when you saw 2 years in a row of the Bengals, one making the Super Bowl and then making a deep playoff run. A lot of people look at these offenses, but Lou Anarumo made that defense where you adapt to the QB you play. You don't let them adapt to you. That does not work today in the National Football League. I agree. Yep, and this is actually Shane Steichen's first hire. Gus Bradley, he knew him well in the Chargers, so that's why he's like, you know what? I'm a first-time head coach. You handle the defense. Well, he handled the 28th ranked defense. So Lou Anarumo comes in here with a fresh mind. He's already mentioned how he likes Buckner. Latu, who's rookie year, was 50-50. He sees him as a young person who can rush off the edge, maybe like a Hendrickson, who he developed into the player he is today. So I'm a really big fan of this move. Will it work 100%? I don't know. It takes time. The Bengals defense wasn't great right off the bat in year one, but I really like that he's a veteran who gets the game in a newer. He's not stuck in his ways like you see some of these defensive coordinators still trying to play the 4-3 like it's 2002. He mixes it up. He'll bring in some fresh faces, and a Colts nickel cornerback who was really happy, Kenny Moore. That's a guy that will be very active blitzing, getting in coverages. So I think players have already made that known. I think other Colts fans have made that known. Now we got to see it happen, right? If Richardson's not good, maybe the whole thing doesn't work. But from this perspective alone, and that's what we're talking about, this is an A hire of Lou Anarumo. Yes. We did look at Dennis Allen. He was probably the top name on everyone's board, but I'll gladly take this name, Lou Anarumo.
I want to add, I looked at Lou Anarumo, because I remember a few years ago the Bucs played the Bengals and Tony Romo, gushed over Lou Anarumo. I didn't know a ton about it. I looked into him and I realized the Bengals had quite a bit of success here. And then I saw Atlanta's interview. I saw Atlanta fire Jimmy Lake. I said, damn, that was a smart move, Raheem. Good job. And I see they're interested in Lou Anarumo, and they mentioned how Jesse Bates had left Cincinnati, which at the time, Lou Anarumo said, I don't even want to think about the possibility that Jesse Bates will leave. So I'm thinking, well, shit, he's going to go to Atlanta, and that's going to be a good hire for him. And that's not to say Jeff Ulbrich won't be. But when I saw that he did not get the position, I was thrilled because I thought that would have made a lot of sense to hire Lou Anarumo and reunite him with Jesse Bates. And I was curious what Bengals fans thought of it, because I'm thinking, well, gosh, the guy's defense was ranked near the bottom the last 2 years. Is it his fault? And most of them, it seems, are saying, no, this is not on Lou Anarumo. This is more an indictment of Mike Brown and the ownership of being cheap, as usual, and letting guys like Jesse Bates get away. And I think there were some others that were mentioned, more so than anything Lou Anarumo did or didn't do, and that they really didn't think he deserved to be fired. So I think the Colts got a good one. I think Atlanta missed out on a good one.
Yeah, and he was kind of the scapegoat a little bit. And to your point, just to wrap my thing up, Cincinnati, we can't forget, people, before Joe Burrow came into town, was a franchise who's pretty cheap and doesn't really like to excel in what they do. Look at the receiver situations.
They're still cheap.
Yeah, interested to see what happens with Higgins and Hendrickson, but that's for another time and place. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, Abraham asking about Pete. We did talk about Pete's briefly. This isn't a Pete special by any means, but we did say J-Lo and I would have Pete on the top half of our list for offensive coordinators. So, Abraham, we're not shying away, but we simply can't talk on, as interviews come, as names accelerate, we'll certainly talk about them. But, Abraham, we did do a deep dive on Jake Peetz last year, actually. If you're looking for more Jake Peetz talk, you can find it in one of our episodes from last season when he was a hot name for our offensive coordinator search as well. You could go to YouTube, Buccateers podcast, and look up Jake Peetz. But we will also get more talk into him as we go right now.
Isn't he Craterface's best friend, I read? Aren't him and Craterface very tight?
Peetz and him are very close, so it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Peetz ultimately goes to Jacksonville. J-Lo hinted at that too, as Peetz maybe going to Jacksonville potentially, right, J-Lo?
Yes.
J-Lo.
No, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I think that's a strong thing if we don't lose Carberry, because obviously Coen's gonna be calling the plays up there, so that's where you fight. Well, why would Peetz go over there if he's not gonna call plays? You want that opportunity. That's what gives us the advantage. But I think because of the close relationship, he can hop on over to Jacksonville just to help put together a game plan.
Yeah, J-Lo, you made a great point the other day by saying the Bucs job is more, it's more of an offensive guy's dream because you get to call plays in Tampa opposed to Jacksonville. So let's, I think a guy like Carberry would make more sense for Coen. It's kind of like the Idzik and Canales connection. He brought Idzik to Carolina to make him his OC. That was a huge step up for Idzik because he wasn't going to be an OC anytime soon. So Carberry may be the same type of scenario. But, yeah, I would sometimes think about all these young guys making money. It's like, I wish I could be 22 again. But,
Carberry, I don't think will go anywhere. I don't think – I think
what's crazy about being 22 is 22 years ago today, fellas, the Bucs won the Super Bowl.
That's right.
22 years ago to date, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers became national champions. J-Lo, thoughts on that first Super Bowl, memories that it brought you, memories that it brought to the forefront for you?
The greatest defense in the NFL all time. I'll argue with anybody. They want to argue with me. I never seen a defense so fast, getting up to the quarterback and all that. It was just one of the greatest moments of being a Bucs fan, getting over the hump being Philly, and then you go play the Raiders in the Super Bowl where they were favored to beat us for some stupid reason. But at the same time, they did it by defense. They had Brad Johnson, who was a good, quarterback run system, who ran it the way Gruden wanted him to run it because his system was not easy, but they got over the hump. And just pure domination. They dominated that team. The number one, it was their first ever number one offense versus number one defense. And we were the first ones to prove that defense wins championships, no matter how great the offensive mind is. And I just enjoyed every minute of it. Just seeing guys like Allstott, Brooks, Sapp, Lynch, all the guys that have been there forever before, something parted. Just seeing them win a Super Bowl, get over the
just
hump.
Awesome times in the Bay, especially in a time where Tampa sports really weren't winning too much outside the Buccaneers. So them being able to bring that Lombardi home was awesome. Cats, quickly thoughts on 22 years ago, the Bucs hoisting the Lombardi because we still got each game to get to in breadwinners, fellas. So as much as I'd love to keep over analyzing things, we got to chirp and move on.
Well, I've got so much memorabilia from that, from bobbleheads of players that I purchased from what was Ben Buccaneer Heaven what's it on?
Buccaneer Heaven, dude.
Yeah.
That was my pops listening. He'll know that store to a T. I got a Derek Brooks jersey there, an L. jersey there.
Oh, I just went there to look. I would tell my mom, can we just go to Buccaneer Heaven? She's like, not if you're gonna buy something. As a kid, no, I just want to look around. Of course, I end up getting something every time. I bought so much stuff, and bobbleheads weren't expensive back then. I've got many of the players. I've got newspapers from that. I've got the Tampa Trib headlines from both. I've got the Philadelphia newspapers from the day after we beat them. I've got them saved. The stuff is all stored. It's not on display right now. It isn't right now. Maybe it will be again at some point. It's an incredible memory. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I can't believe it's been 22 years ago. That means I lived more of my life post the Bucs Super Bowl first win than before it. I was 19, so actually, I don't know. I might have messed up the math. But, yeah, just an incredible day. And,
I remember at Buccaneers Heaven, they had the Mike Elstock Coca-Cola machines right out.
That's
in
right.
front.
It was incredible.
Awesome.
And it was affiliated with Pewter Report. And then the great Jeffrey Neal Fox, ultimately sold the stores or sold or just, closed down, and Pewter Report stayed. They used to be, they were a joint venture back in the day. What a place to shop there, man. What a place.
Yeah, Pops texted Buccaneer Heaven. I remember their great memories there. Joey, quickly with you before we get to the games today, thoughts on the Bucs' first Super Bowl, if you have any memories of it 22 years ago today, anything, or Buccaneers Heaven, the store, anything on the forefront?
Yeah, I mean, I remember that was Pops and Don's third annual, our parents' Super Bowl party, and we were always hoping for the Colts and Bucs to meet up at one point, because in the early 2000s, Manning kept losing to the Patriots and a couple other teams there. And, Bucs finally got over the Eagles once they went on to John Gruden. So we just kept missing each other in the early 2000s. It was always possible outside of that regular season matchup once every 4 years. But what I do remember most is I've never seen a Raiders team have more veterans. Like I'm not even talking like 30 plus. It was like 35 plus, like Rich Gannon, Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, Richie. I mean, you could go through the whole offense, and the Bucs made them look old that day for the first time. They thought it was great success there, possibly getting at it with Bill Callahan, but that Bucs defense, I just feel like every time we were looking up at the screen, the Bucs were either taking it the other way or making them have to punt the ball. So that defense was extraordinary. J-Lo, I do agree. I mean, outside the 85 Bears and I think the 01 Ravens, hard to argue any defense was better than what Tampa Bay brought to the table during that year.
We got 4 Hall of Fame players on it, and I haven't counted on the other defenses that are up there. I'm sure they've all got about 4 as well. Maybe some have 5. I still think Simeon Rice should be number 5. That ship has sailed. I don't think he's ever going to get in, which is unfortunate, because to me, and I'll oftentimes think now about the Bucs, like, God damn it, get someone who can rush the passer off the edge. And I'll think, man, back in the day, we went and got Simeon Rice to do that. I'm like, where? Oh, right. I don't think we're going to get lucky and have a future should-be Hall of Famer fall into our lap like Simeon Rice. Just kind of Cardinals, we're a shitty organization. And,
Yeah,
but,
it was crazy, too, because Dungy had some great success here. To Abraham's point, he just wasn't the guy who could get us over the top, Sometimes you need that.
And don't forget, Dungy got my Colts over the hump, and he actually brought along Booger McFarland to help with us in the Super Bowl in Indy. And Simeon Rice actually got a year and a half in Indy as well. So just because Dungy might not have fully got it there, he did with Indy, which he brought great memories to me. So that was my Colts memory.
I didn't remember Simeon went to the Colts. I don't know. I remember the Broncos. I didn't remember the Colts. But yeah, Dungy was a great coach, a great leader of men. It just was a matter of his offensive coordinators. I don't want to go reminisce too much. I know we don't have all day. The hires just didn't work. It's like amazing thing. Todd Bowles, so far can't miss on an offensive coordinator. He's a defensive guy. Dungy, on the other hand, could not pick one. And when he left the Bucs, Gruden was the perfect coach for the Bucs at the perfect time. And that's why anything that happened after that season, I don't give 2 flying fucks. They weren't even terrible all those years. They had a great season in 2005. They got screwed in a game against Washington in the playoffs. But Gruden was perfect at the right time. Giving up what they gave up, it's a great bargain because they won a Super Bowl. Dungy went to the perfect place because I thought, all right, he's like, all right, now I don't have to worry about picking an offensive coordinator. I've got Tom Moore here. I've got Peyton Manning. We just, Jim Mora Sr. has just left. That was a very dramatic situation. I've got a cool hand. Playoffs. And I know they had some winning years with Mora before that, but then he, everything went to hell. He calmed things down, and eventually, he didn't even bother, that I understand. He didn't meddle into the offense in Indy, or if he did, he stopped and just said, look, focus on the defense. Tom Moore, Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, Barnett, we got this. And eventually, it took a little time, but eventually the defense was good enough, because I know they struggled with the defense in Indy for a while. He got it to a point where it was good enough. They went out, got Adam Vinatieri, as I recall, because I had issues with the kicker, and they went and won a Super Bowl. They beat the Bears down in Miami. I remember that game pretty well after it started off looking ominous. I don't even think that was Peyton Manning's best game, if I recall. It was,
it wasn't his best playoff for anything. You're giving me chills here, man. But
now we're going down memory lane, and I love it. But
I have a good memory. He had his best game in that AFC title game and coming back against New England when it looked like they were going to have the same fate again.
We do have games to get to today, fellas. I love it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We just both
short there, brother.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know how my Colts memory got that good.
It's
maybe because
awesome, but the show would be 3 hours if we keep running here. We're not even at the games today or breadwinners yet, fellas. I love the great vibes and talk, but that's why we run twice a week, and that's why we get more shows in. Feel free. Always.
Can I hit that comment there by BT? I want to say something. BT, I would like to hear Bruce Arians' quote on what he thinks of Liam Coen. I would love to hear just a quote, because I know
he probably would just say fuck him and that's it.
That's why I would love to hear it.
Fuck the Chiefs and fuck how often they make the Super Bowl. A lot of people rooting against the Chiefs today. I know in the AFC Championship game. J-Lo, I want to start with you and get your thoughts. Sunday, 6:30. That's today, obviously. The Chiefs, the Bills will be battling in Arrowhead Stadium, trying to get to the Super Bowl. That game's on CBS and Paramount Plus, Mr. J-Lo. Kansas City is a 2-point favorite in this one. Bills' money line is plus 110. This is a behemoth. This is a big battle, J-Lo. I know you said last week out of Baltimore, Buffalo winner, you think they'll end up winning the Super Bowl. Is that still where you line up today, J-Lo, after a week of getting to think it through? Allen, Mahomes, Bills, Chiefs, Red Eyes Pick'em playoff special starts now with J-Lo.
I still believe that the Bills are going to get over the hump. They beat Kansas City today for one reason, and that reason is Josh freaking Allen. It's his time. It's his time to finally go into Arrowhead. He already beat them this year already. They can do it again with that confidence. This is what he's worked his life for, to get into the championship game. He got screwed over a few playoff seasons ago, and because he didn't get the ball in overtime first, it was the Chiefs. So you got to think for 1 second, this is the Bills' time, and I still believe that they will finally knock out the Chiefs. Don't get in that third year in a row Super Bowl bullshit crap, because I don't want to see that happen. No one wants to see it happen. But I say the Bills finally get over the hump. I like Josh Allen. I think they got a good game plan with Joe Brady going in there. But you can tell after turning the Saints job down, he's focused on getting the Bills over their hump and get them in the Super Bowl.
Cats, what say you? Bills, Chiefs? Who do you got? Jay's got Buffalo. What say you?
I do too. I can't give a lot of empirical research or evidence as to why I think this is the time, but I guess I will say KC this year, they find ways to win. The reps are involved a lot of the times, but they do make the big plays in big moments. They block a field goal when they need to last week, right? And the Texans had chances. I think Buffalo this year is finally, sometimes you got to learn to lose. You lose first before you can win. In some organizations, some instances, I think that's Buffalo. I think this is their time now. I think they're going to take it.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'll get into my thoughts here shortly. Joey, thoughts? Bills, Chiefs, Allen, Mahomes, Reed, McDermott. A lot of big-time battles today in that game. CBS 5:30 Eastern and Paramount Plus as well.
And people enjoy this one. I mean, this is Championship Sunday. This is literally the best Sunday of the year, where you at least have 2 games left between the 4 final teams who deserved it. No matter if you had a bye week or not, you earned a spot to be here by winning a game or 2 at this point. So I just saw Jim Kelly on the screen, and we all know he lost 4 Super Bowls. I'm a little afraid Josh Allen could possibly lose 4th time now to Mahomes in the playoffs, but I'm a heart guy. That's why I don't bet a lot, because I'd be broke on the streets. I'm damn near there halfway already. All jokes aside, give me Buffalo. Josh Allen today has a monster game. Kat said it right. KC wins all these close games. The key today for Buffalo is get off to a fast start and never look back.
Yeah.
You let the Chiefs linger around. You got to do what Washington does, and I didn't believe it really at first with the Bucs game until the second half when it worked, but you got to go for it on 4th downs. You got to get touchdowns and not field goals, and you really got to have that double-digit lead at some point in the 4th quarter. I watched the 2021 and 2023 Bills-Chiefs matchup yesterday because I have no girl to lay next to me in bed. I have a pillow and a stuffed animal, so I watched old football games. And let me tell you, when the Bills took the lead in those games, it was 3 points. It was 7 points. And they would find a way to turn it over, or they would find a way to screw things up for Kansas City because it was close. Get a double-digit lead, don't look back, and let's go Buffalo.
BT says Bucs will be fine. Bucs are a winning organization. Bat says Godwin, sign him to the franchise. No, the Bucs cannot franchise tag Chris Godwin, because say if Chris Godwin gets a franchise tag, he would not be motivated to work out a long deal here, because it would be like a 1 year, $36 million deal for Chris Godwin, because we have franchise tagged him a couple of times already, and the nurture of the wide receiver position. So if you franchise tag Godwin, he is not even going to cooperate with an extension, because he'd be on a 1 year, $36 million contract and say, hey, I'm cool making the highest paid wide receiver money pretty much in the NFL this year. So, Bat, I love the idea, but the franchise tag is out of the window, is the great Greg Allman from The Athletic reported many weeks ago. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills here as well. Kind of scary. We're clean sweeping the Bills, and so is BT in the comments, says it's going to be Bills versus the Commanders. So I'm going to go with the Bills here. Scary. 5 of us are on Buffalo, but I'm just thinking it's now or never for McDermott. He could be one of those guys, or if they go out there and get killed today, he could lose his job and they could promote Joe Brady to the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. McDermott's been there forever. He's yet to get over the hump. He's kind of got that Tony Dungy type in him right now, right? He's good, very good. He keeps getting to the big games. He just can't win a big game. Today is his chance to prove he could win a big game. The Chiefs are a little bit off offensively this year. They're not the same Kansas City Chiefs we had in the past. Their defense is good, but you could slow down their offense. If you could outscore them, outpace them. They've only scored 30 or more points once this year. Who was that against? Yours truly, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they beat us in overtime on Monday Night Football. So this Chiefs team struggles putting up points this year. If you're the Bills, come out of the gates, attack, and much like you did in both games, they kind of followed the same script, right? Broncos game, Ravens game. Their offense got to a hot start. They got big leads early, which allowed them in the second half to play a little more conservative. Well, today you're going to need that big lead like you did against the Ravens and Broncos, but instead of playing conservative ball in half two, you're going to have to keep that pedal on the metal and keep scoring points today, because Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Isaiah Pacheco, and co. are not going to go down easy. Give me the Bills here. I think they go into Arrowhead and do what they have never done yet, get to the Super Bowl with Josh Allen. But I think today that changes that. I got Buffalo, and it's going to be a very interesting game. It's kind of been the Brady and Mahomes show the past 2 decades, decade and a half plus out of the AFC since Manning's retired. It's been Brady Mahomes. I remember at one point in time it was Brady, Manning, or Roethlisberger every year for like a 15-year period. So the AFC, this is nothing new. They're used to 1 or 2 quarterbacks showing up every year. They need the next quarterback to take the next step. Everyone thought it was going to be Burrow. He hasn't reclaimed to the Super Bowl. Everyone thought it was going to be Lamar. He's busy winning MVPs but can't get to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen, you need to be the saving grace for America. Go, Josh Allen, go, as we get to Commandos Eagles talk now. Is Jaden Daniels, or as their mayor spelled it. Yeah,
that was too funny. If anybody
he needs a
What
spelling bee or a spelling lesson, but
A hard word.
Eagles, E-L, or I would spell them L-O-S-E-R-S. Eagles, that's the right spelling, right? But I'm getting jumbled up here all over the place. BT, all the hold from our Super Bowl team shouldn't be on this team minus Mike Evans. Everyone else is. So Tristan Wirfs should be gone. All right, interesting. But okay then. So I guess Tristan Wirfs should be gone, and yeah, that's very, very surprising. That just doesn't make
No
much sense.
Vea. Yeah, no
Vea. Yeah,
or big toe, because that's a big toe type comment right there. Jeez.
Man,
see you later,
no Vea.
Winfield Jr. Nice knowing you, Winfield Jr.
Force Levante into retirement. Don't even let him come back.
I think BT realized he made a slight error there. It's okay, BT. Yeah, now exactly.
I was like, well, not him. We're not him either.
You greatly misspoke, buddy. It's okay. Commanders.
Brick can leave.
Yeah.
JTS can leave. I mean, these free agents, there's a reason we have a lot of them, and I don't want a lot of them back. No disrespect to a lot of these guys. That's for another
To be
show.
fair, though, JTS got here a year after the Super Bowl. So.
That's right, he did. Yeah, so did and I think AJ Britt did too.
Well, BT, no offense. Yes, obviously we're going to keep the good. We've been letting the dead weight go.
A lot of the free agents are dead weight. Yeah.
Even our long snapper is new. Our long snapper's even new. So not really sure.
Kicker's new we have a better kicker than when we won the Super Bowl even.
Yeah, we don't really have any like old aging players from the Super Bowl roster. Yeah, dead weight got to go. Name the dead weight from the Super Bowl year? It's
you guys are gone already.
Yeah, they're all gone, buddy. Jamel Dean might be the only one, and he's probably gone. So
maybe and it's not based on ability for me; it's just availability.
That's it. Jamel Dean could be a top corner in this league if he's available more than he is. But sadly, him and Carlton Davis and Sean Murphy Bunting went to the paper glass and glass bone school university.
Retrade and getting that 3rd round pick and getting that Jalen McMillan guy. I didn't think at first. I thought, oh man, we need Carlton Davis. Look at that. How it turned out. He got hurt. We got Jalen McMillan. Jason likes GM. I am not.
BT, we're happy to prove that all the dead weight is gone from the Super Bowl team. Speaking of dead weight, we'll see which one of these teams turn into dead weight today. It is a rivalry battle. It's an ugly one. Washington-Philly, one of the longtime rivalries in the NFL. Once again, 6:30 Bills-Chiefs on CBS Eastern Time. This game's 3 o'clock on Fox Eastern Time. The Commanders, Eagles on Fox. Tom Brady on the call. Oh, boy.
How many more for him?
Dan Quinn from that 28-3 Super Bowl, Mr. Joey. Thoughts on Washington, Philadelphia, my friend?
Well, yeah, listen, I mean, if you're a team right now is sitting at home and that your team might have struggled this year, you might have some questions in your upper management ownership. Look at what Washington did. They got rid of Dan Snyder, who I saw was mad about them being in the Super Bowl. It's like, well, hey, go cry in your corner because you had many years and you just kept crumbling that franchise. Look at what happens when they get rid of your piece of shit. They draft a good quarterback. They get a head coach who I was actually against the hire a little bit. I thought Dan Quinn might be just a DC at this time. Congrats to him. But this matchup is going to be interesting today. I hate the Eagles.
And Joey, real quick, that's funny you mentioned that. You think the Cowboys are pissed off? See, they had Dan Quinn as their DC, and they could have easily promoted him to head coach, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's another good point you could bring up. Instead of just looking so much outside, sometimes if you just keep it within, Dallas could have done better things. But we know Jerry's world. It's a scary place to be when you have it like that. Well, I'll just
Kellen Moore too on the other side.
Yeah, and then you go with Schottenheimer. It's like even if he's not, it literally looks like you just hired a guy who likes to scratch Jerry's back. And that's where I'll
maybe a little lower than his back.
Yeah,
right.
I have a few jokes in my back pocket, but again, I think I'm getting close to the boot on YouTube probably, so I'll keep it as is. But in reality, I do love Barkley. I love him on the Giants. He's a hard-nosed player. Penn State guy. He's had those long runs. I mean, the playoff game against the Rams, Katz mentioned how the Rams had 8-9 sacks against the Vikings. You want to know how you counter that? You run the ball well, and they can run the living shit out of the ball. Jalen Hurts is banged up. You're not going to see him in much of his run packages. In the passing game, it literally looks like they're playing Madden on the hardest difficulty, and they can't figure out how to get it to their good wide receivers. So they should rely on Barkley a lot. And we'll see if Washington's defense, who is a little weaker against the run, can stop that. I'm not going to go with my heart here. I'm going to go with my head. I think Philly in a close game. I don't think they cover that 6-point spread, but I think Philly wins in a close one because they lean on Barkley, who deserves to be in a football championship to me.
And Jaden Daniels would be the first ever rookie quarterback to play in a Super Bowl. That's kind of insane to think about in general, right? Just the fact that how important rookie quarterbacks are nowadays, and none has ever done so. Maybe Jaden Daniels could do so. Also, congrats to Saquon Barkley for getting engaged this past week or two as well.
Oh, wow.
To his fiance. So he's in a good mood, Mr. Katz. What say you on Eagles, Commandos, or you with Joey?
Yes, I am. It drives me crazy because I'm a big Saquon Barkley fan too, for many reasons. He's such a team player, a team guy all the way. and just a phenomenal season. And you look at the New York Giants and you say, they thought, gosh, this guy was good enough to pick 2 overall, but because he's a 27-year-old running back who got hurt a few times, he's not good enough for a second contract. The Eagles said, thank you very much. We'll take the guy who was not born here. He was born there. He was raised here. We'll take him. And here they are. Out in the first round last year. Here they are now. Congrats to him on his engagement. And yeah, Washington struggled against the run this season. The Bucs weren't able to quite get to it as much as they wanted to in that wild card game, although we did run the ball, I believe, at our usual yards per carry, if I'm not mistaken. I think we averaged about 4.5. And I think the Lions last week got, had so many turnover issues. I didn't think it was Ben Johnson's best game, honestly. I think they ran the ball pretty effectively, but they got
that wide receiver pass was like, what?
That was a bad. People didn't like the Crater Faces jet sweep. I actually liked the jet sweep call. It was open. It just wasn't executed. But a wide receiver pass down by 10 when you gotta have, I wouldn't have done that. The Commanders were ready for it. But I think there's enough. The Eagles are able to beat them at their own game. The Commanders have shown they possess the ball like they did against us. I think they did it against the Lions to time of possession, which can be an overrated stat if you don't use it and actually score. But they've been scoring enough. 23 against us, 45 last week. The Eagles can win that way too. They can run the football. Their offense is not all there right now because I don't think Jalen Hurts is fully healthy. But I think they have enough offensively, and Washington struggles enough defensively, and that Eagles offensive line is absolutely massive. So I like Philly in this one, a close one, but I like Philly to take it.
And a little bit of breaking news, Lou Anarumo's keeping his linebackers coach. We'll see how that pans out as James Betcher is following the Colts. Quickly, Joe, before we get to J-Lo and me, thoughts on that hire?
I'm not going to sit here like some people want to say I know the most about this, man, but we need some help in the linebacker department and coverage. So I'm hoping this guy can bring some to it. Zaire Franklin.
Looks like Brian Daboll's twin.
He does kind of. But people know Zaire Franklin. He's been top 3 in tackles the past 3 seasons now, and actually has the most in the last 3 years. So hopefully we can turn him better into coverage and get somebody next to him, and he can coach him up well.
And
how about EJ Speed?
He's a free agent. That one's interesting.
I know Bucs fans like him. A few Bucs fans have dropped his name.
So here's the thing about EJ Speed. He's that guy that he'll hit the floor in a game and he'll hit the ceiling. What do I mean by that? He'll make a sack or an interception in a game where you're like, I don't know how he got to that ball. Speed literally is speed. He gets there. But then on an easy tackle up the middle where the linebacker needs to make a tackle, he'll just olay and let him run for an extra 20 to 30. So he'll give you that boom play, then he'll give you that bust play in a game. So it just, if you could get it on a cheaper deal, I'd like it.
Yeah, interesting. Wonder what Larry
thinks. He'd be a perfect. I think he'd be a perfect linebacker complement to Levante. I think a Levante David could help him hone his craft a little bit. Well. Could help him, be a professional. James Betcher. One thing that I already like about the guy, he's an Indiana native, is he's from Lakeville, Indiana, at 46 years old.
He was on the Colts staff 1 year.
He was on their Colt, exactly, and that's what I was just about to say as well. Cool thing about him, he always comes back to Indiana. He started his coaching world at St. Francis, Indiana. Then his biggest coach gig in college was Ball State's special teams coordinator and defensive end coach in Indiana. Then his first NFL gig was outside linebackers coach with the Colts, and he actually overlapped with Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles in Arizona as well. He replaced Todd Bowles as their defensive coordinator when Bruce Arians had to find a new defensive coordinator when Todd Bowles got the Jets gig, Joey. So that's pretty cool that Bruce Arians hired him in Arizona. Then he went on to become the Giants D coordinator, San Fran defensive assistant, and Bengals linebacker coach. But so far we're 2 for 2 on the Eagles, I believe. Katz and Joey both on the Eagles. J-Lo, what say you on the status of Eagles, Redskins, Commandos football team, or the hire of James Betcher for the Colts?
I will say this. Shout out to the Commanders as far as they got. And they definitely proved a lot of doubters wrong, especially me. I didn't think they were even going to make a playoff appearance. But anyway, long story short, I really think it's going to be a tough battle going to Philly. It's a tough place to play in, dealing with the fans and all that. As much as I don't want to see Philly win, I just think this is their game today. Barkley, I think, is going to definitely get the ball rolling Hurts, I feel, is lost, a little bit with his receivers, but we'll see what happens today on that part. But like I said, Commanders, they did a great job this year. They're going to be a team to reckon with the right pieces next season. So, give me Eagles at home in a close one. I just think Jaden Daniels has done everything he could possibly do in his rookie season, which has been incredible. So Eagles at home, Eagles, Bills, Super Bowl.
Wow, we're all on the same page. That is scary. All four of us have an Eagles Bills Super Bowl. I don't think you'll listen to another show that probably has every
That
panelist.
means it will be Chiefs Commanders.
A lot of people are picking Washington in an upset. Just talking to people in general. When I say people, I don't mean it seems like a lot of people think Washington's going to win this, and I wouldn't be shocked if they did. But unlike last week, where nobody seemed to think Washington would go into Detroit, and with us, it was about a 50-50 split, Bucs Commanders. But this week, I'm seeing more people believing in Washington to beat Philly than than we saw Washington versus Detroit.
And a huge loss today for the Commanders. Their top O-lineman's done, and also Deron Payne. So, when Jalen Hurts is scrambling, when Barkley's running up the middle, they're not going to have that first-team All-Pro interior D lineman to be there. And they're not going to have their best offensive lineman either, as Kamimi is out for the year now for the Commanders as well. So, to me, that's a big thing, right? Jalen Carter's going to better his depth trench with the Commanders being shorthanded an O-line guy. And to me, Deron Payne being out is huge for the Eagles. Give me Eagles. Guys, I don't mean to, I think they win by double digits. I think this one is where the Commanders fall apart a little bit. I think Dan Quinn's hat is forwards by the end of the game, and I think the Eagles win this thing. I'll go with 31-20 Eagles. And that's not a knock on the Commanders. They had a hell of a year. Congrats to them. They've overexceeded many expectations, but their roster just is not meant for Super Bowl right now. And I know crazier things have happened, but when you look at it, their wide receiver number 2 is De'Ami Brown. Now they're without their best couple offensive linemen. Their running backs are nice number 2s, but they're not number 1s. Outside of Jaden Daniels, outside of Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz, their offense is very pedestrian. Now their defense is missing Deron Payne. They don't have those experienced defenders. I think this could be a long day for the Commanders, guys. Give me the Eagles here by double digits today in this game. And
also, Marshawn Lattimore looks a little washed to me.
Yeah, I think Lattimore. Mike Evans said, "Sir, you sit down. You sit the hell down, sir. I'm gonna burn you." And
looks like his past. Yeah, he doesn't look like
that game. Bucs still win that game 9 out of 10 times.
And even Bobby Wagner was a little banged up last week, and he's nearing 50 years old. So I don't want to sit here. They made the NFC Championship. Kudos, but all good things must come to an end at some point. And in Philadelphia, I just believe that's the case.
Yeah, even if
I like Bobby Wagner.
Today,
I do too.
Even if they get killed today, that's a hell of a year. You can't hang your head and be disappointed. I know it sucks you get this far, you want to get there. But only thing I don't like about Bobby Wagner, but he used it as motivational tactic. He's like, "Oh, Bucs took the ball first. They blah blah blah. They're pretty much shitty people for doing that. Our defense is above."
What? That's what he said?
Yeah. Did you see that video that came out because the Bucs got the ball first in the game? Bobby Wagner was like, "That's so disrespectful. It's like, bro,
not fair, but the Redskins do that too all year. I believe the Bucs and Redskins are both very similar. They have defensive-minded head coaches.
It's a motivational tactic. Yeah. I get it for his defense.
We don't defer. Why would we? That's something I appreciated this year about Todd Bowles, because people complain he's too conservative. Well, he realized very early in this year that the offense was a stronger unit, I think, and he immediately, I think opening day, we won the toss and took the ball. And all year, I don't think once did he. Maybe once he deferred. I don't think so. No.
Cowboys fans have a 7-0 lead. They always cruise most of the time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we only gave it to 3 in that wild card game. It was 3-0. 7-0. Who knows? But yeah,
before we get to our final word and breadwinners, a great note for Cowboy fans. Falcons tight end room's great, right? Pitts has been one of the biggest disasters in the NFL. Well, Cowboys, your newest offensive coordinator might be the Falcons tight end coach, as he's interviewing for your job. So
he must have given Jerry Jones a back scratch.
Yeah, Kevin Koger is interviewing for their job. And last bit of news, Jaguars will formally introduce Liam Coen as the team's head coach Monday 3:30 Eastern time. I know J-Lo.
We sure will show up. You gonna show up this time?
Well,
Already
let's
got a
hope.
job solving crater faces. Now that all my friends are even saying crater face, they can't smash.
I mean, hey, it all's fair game when you fuck my team over. I'll insult your looks. I'll insult your wife. I did it to Chip Kelly. Tones knows how many years did I tweet every time Chip Kelly's team lost a game? Did I say, "Suck my ass, Chip," or something like that? And how many games did he win as an NFL coach? Not many. So I didn't like it, and Twitter wasn't around when Bill Parcells failed after screwing the Bucs both times. He never won a Super Bowl after screwing over the Bucs. So
we've got burned by many things. Bo Jackson burned. We just keep getting burned.
We had that one coming. He said, "Don't draft us," but Parcells is a liar, and Chip Kelly was. We didn't really miss out on anything. It wasn't like he was a great NFL coach, but that's why when I hear him mentioned as a possible offensive coordinator, I'm thinking, I don't think the Glazers would go back.
Yeah, Cass, I agree. We did have it a little more coming, but you think that's all fluff, right? You think when you draft a guy, then it'll be like, all right, I'm going to work. I'm going to come for the. But no, Bo Jackson.
When they see that first paycheck, you think, oh, shit, that's how much money they're going to pay me? Even the cheap Bucks? Oh, okay, you know what? Yeah, you know what? Forget what I said. I'll show up. Look at that money. But it didn't happen there.
Hey, our next guaranteed show, you never know, because if we get more breaking news or offensive coordinator, we might have like an offensive coordinator special on Tuesday or something going over new candidate names. But Thursday we will be back because then I'm Orlando bound, not for the Pro Bowl, but I'll be going to Orlando Friday. So no Saturday or Sunday show next week. That show gets moved up to Thursday. We're going to do our Pro Bowl fun. We're going to do some Super Bowl talk. We're going to talk about the Saints job if it's still open. Joey will be joining us as it will be like a Saturday type format, but on a Thursday. That'll be around 6:15, 6:30 Eastern time. We might be back a day this week too if there is more news on the horizon. And then our off-season schedule will be with you guys every single Tuesday after the Super Bowl comes and goes, every single Tuesday and every other Saturday, barring big weeks, right? Schedule release, NFL draft, all that stuff will be with you all the time. Speaking of time, it's time to get money, time to make that money. It's breadwinners time before the final word. So it's time to get to the world of bread. J-Lo, me and you had breadwinners on our last episode earlier this week. You won yours, I lost mine. You had the Lightning over the Blackhawks. I sadly had USF Hoops over Charlotte, and that didn't work out too well. So we'll see how that goes. For today's breadwinners, we got a lot of likes. BT, I dislike Eagles and Chiefs. Bucs front office needs to do blah, blah, blah. Bulls should hire a new defensive stat. Well, he pretty much is, right? Casey Rogers gone. Maybe Larry Foote's gone. Blah, 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 blah. J-Lo, breadwinners. As I will do is I go over, how do we not get a comp pick? Okay, so real quick,
Right.
my rant on comp picks is they need new rulings. We shouldn't get one for losing Liam because he's not a minority, but you're rewarded comp picks by grooming minority head coaches if they're there for 2 years, which is bullshit because we got poached Dave Canales last year and we should have at least got one. Now the Lions get 2 for losing Aaron Glenn to the Jets. To me, if you get a comp pick, you should at least get 1. I get it, whatever, but what can you do? Light called Baker on a 10 on a prick scale. What? Doesn't even make sense, Flash Gordon. So, whatever. I think Commanders win. They have Jaden Daniels. He finds a way to win. Laughing. Russ Harrison. Breadwinner time. J-Lo, start us with your breadwinners. You're hot. You had the Lightning over the Blackhawks. You start today's breadwinners.
I'm going to go men's basketball in the college world. And I'm going to go with Illinois.
I feel like you're a big breadwinner college basketball guy.
I don't know. I'm feeling lucky today, I guess. But give me Illinois' college basketball team on the money line. I'm sorry, no, the spread. Give me the spread for Illinois against Northwestern.
U of I spread. I like that. My buddy's actually going. Shout out to Astros Jake. He's going to the game. He goes to all these type of games. So that'll be fun. But J-Lo, your breadwinner is U of I spread. I have to update the totals. I think we're 11 or 12 games over 500. We're plus around $150 total as a unit on the year. Cats, if you have a bet of the night or any night upcoming this week, do you have any bets or any teams you like on your radar?
Sure, I don't know enough what's going on really, so I will say that the Lightning have been a bit snake bit lately. I know, this tough road trip, although they should have come out with points in 3 of them. They got points in 1 of them. I saw you were there, Tones, it looks like. I'm glad you got to see the win.
Joey was with me too.
Awesome. Glad you saw a win. They've been playing well. They're not getting results. Cooper didn't seem overly concerned. That's good. The results are unacceptable. Process okay. Lightning over the Blackhawks Tuesday.
Yeah, it's funny how close
they
play
right? Again.
Yeah, they play here.
Because no, it's actually funny. I try to be a Hawks fan. I'm not as huge into hockey, but it was funny. Tones, you kind of pointed it out too. I was trying to talk some crap to you about it, but I was obviously just kidding. If you look around the United Center where the Blackhawks play, you see a lot of one person's jersey. That was Bedard, the young phenom. We don't really have anybody else. When you looked at Lightning fans who surprisingly traveled much better than I thought to this game.
They do.
I don't know why they would come to Chicago in the winter, but they
do.
They loved it. And you see the number of jerseys that are still relevant. I remember seeing a lot of Point, Hedman, other guys. You just see a lot more current players there. And I know maybe when you look at the rankings, the Lightning, I don't believe are top 10 in all of hockey right now, maybe in points and wins and losses, but they're pretty close to it. They just have a team that's established a lot of great things. And really, I hope the Hawks take some lessons from them because they've been the model of consistency over the past 5, 6, 7 seasons.
We've got multiple Hall of Famers here on this roster. It's like the 2002 Bucs. There's a lot of future Hall of Famers on the Lightning roster, and there's the former Lightning like Steven Stamkos who will be in the Hall of Fame as remembered as a Lightning.
To compare the Lightning season right now to football terms, to me they're kind of having a Rams type year where they can beat anybody but lose to anybody, and you probably don't want to play them in the playoffs because they could slug you around. So we got Cats Lightning money line Tuesday night. J-Lo U of I spread over Northwestern. My breadwinner, I'm going to just rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to say Bills money line times 110. I'm going to go ahead and say the Bill. Like I said, if it's not now, it's never. Because to me, Kansas City's only going to get better next year, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to have as down of an offensive year as they had this year. I think it's now or never for the Bills. I just think it's now or never, if they want to get there. So give me Bills money line. Joey, before we get to final word, you take us home on breadwinners.
Yeah, I like that one. That was where I was going to go. I'm trying to be a little bit different here, and I will I'm going to take the under in Commanders Eagles, actually. I believe it's kind of a sloppier game. I don't think you're going to see all the explosion. Cats alluded to it earlier. Lions turned the ball over a ton last week, which led to a lot of Commanders positive plays. I think in Philadelphia, where it's not supposed to be terrible weather, but at the same time, it's not as nice as being in a dome. I think that the Eagles try to control this clock, have some long drives, and I believe we get the under. I think it's 48 in Commanders Eagles.
I like that one too. I think, you got to beat up Jalen Hurts. You got a very good Eagles defense. I think that game is going to be a lot more gritty and physical than people are expecting. I think Washington's offense takes a step back from last week, and Eagles defense kind of slows the scoring down, slows this game down. Remember, guys, enjoy today. Last day of the year with more than one football game or event on. All we got left after this is the Pro Bowl, the Super Bowl, and then it's on to a lot of
free agency. Not far off, right? Not too far off. Free agency.
Yeah, free agency ain't far off. That's the beginning of March.
Week of March. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got free agency first week of March. You got NFL schedule release about first week of May. Then you got the NFL draft in April as well. So you got some exciting times ahead between schedule release, NFL draft, free agency, all that fun stuff. And a lot of trades start being agreed upon before free agency even. So we still have the Saints head coaching search, ROC search. Still a lot of football to talk about here Thursday, 6:30 Eastern on the Buccateers. And maybe before as well, J-Lo. Final word for the program, brother. Thanks for joining us as always, my friend.
Yes, sir. Always pleasure chatting up with y'all boys. Fuck Liam Coen. As all I can really say. Snake, bit snake. Regardless if you want a head coaching job or not. The way it's not how it happens. I mean, it's not what happened, it's how it happened, how you handled it. And it shows what a true professional you really are. Go fuck
Do you
yourself.
agree with Emily? It looks like you felt up your sister. Is that how mad you are at him?
I'm telling you, man. I already said my piece. I'm done. Bye, Felicia. On to the next one. We got the roster. We got the talent. We're gonna attract many, many assistant coaches that want to come coach this great team. We're gonna keep moving along, and we're gonna try to fit this defense. And I can't wait for the offseason to come up. And enjoy the championship games, fellas. Go Bucs.
Yeah, go Bucs. Fire the damn cannons. Last word, Emily. You are great. Thanks for always joining. Olivia, everybody else as well. But Emily, I'll give my mini last word on it. It's not what he did, it's how he did it, right? Nobody faults him for leaving, going to get the bag, going to get a raise, going to get a head coach opportunity. It's how you did it. Be a man of integrity, brother. The Bucs came to you and said, what would we be able to do to keep you? You told the Bucs, if you pay me this much, I'll return. The Bucs offered you that much. You texted Baker. You texted Jason Light. You texted Todd Bowles. I'm back. Wednesday comes around. Harder to find you than Waldo. You reply to the Bucs. Hey, give me until Thursday. Jason Light says, Thursday it is, my friend. Thursday comes around. You're more missing than a frickin' thumbtack and a horse's stack. So I don't want to hear how, people being mad at Bucs fans for being mad at Liam. Again, we all understand what he did. It's how he did it. But hey, he's better off. I don't want a guy like that around my football team. Very bright offensive mind. But again, if he's going to be this snaky about such, and then he brought his kid into it. I'm tired of these people saying, why are people he brought his kid into it weeks ago. He used his kid as an excuse on why he can't focus on head coaching opportunities. Now he used his kid as an excuse on why he was out of the Bucs facility. It's because you're meeting with Jacksonville. Just be honest, bro. Nobody would have been this mad. But that's my final word. Fuck it. I'm excited for new coaching, man. I'm excited for new offensive coaches. I'm excited for new defensive coaches. And to be honest, I wish we could have new special teams coaches as well. But Thomas McGoffey looks like he's pretty safe. So, yeah. Joey, any last words on the show or on Coen in general?
Since we're just hating on people, I'm going to say fuck Adam Schefter. That guy thinks he's always bigger than he is. He tried to take some credit for being a part of Bill's Mafia, started getting teary-eyed. This guy tweeted about Dwayne Haskins' death, and he put his name in there like he was a crappy QB. If you guys remember that about a year or two back. So, Adam Schefter, fuck you. Take your money and run home. I am not.
Yeah, now he's trying to say the Bucs strong arm Liam. I'd love to be.
Yeah, on the McAfee show, he was saying some stupid stuff. So go, Ian Rappaport. Fuck you, Adam Schefter.
Hey, I'd sure love to be strong armed into a $6 million contract and be the highest.
Lee Corso's out.
But Joey, J-Lo, Cats, all beautiful people. Look, we're already at an hour and 40 minutes. That's why
Wow.
I had to keep the show flowing, because we could have been here all freaking day. But Mr. Katz, it's always a blessing, brother. You have a great Sunday, even though don't worry too much about the state of the Bucs, brother.
Oh, I'm not worried at all. I'm excited for what's
and
coming.
Gene Decroft's back. Before we
That's
forget.
right. And also, let me add, if for those who are listening, I did read that this will be the 50th season of the Bucs coming up, and there will be a documentary release, and it will be in theaters this summer, what I understand. So I'm looking very forward to that.
Probably only local theaters, I'm guessing. But
I would presume, but I'm sure it'll be available on DVD.
the Bucs social media staff does a great job with doing that type
They'll
of stuff.
probably post it as well. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to our next hiring to replace the crater face with someone who's not only a brilliant offensive mind, but someone with integrity. Someone who
And
can
you know
lead.
what's exciting too, Cats? 50th season patches come, or 50th
Right.
season comes with special patches. So we'll
That's
see
right.
what the 50th season patch looks like.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well, brother. But great to have you. We got a lot of fun off-season talk ahead. Go get Grizzard or go get another young offensive mind, damn it. Don't bring
Amen.
in some old wash-up bag. But Cats, enjoy your Sunday, bro.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
We out. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs. Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by